Vanakkam. Greetings to all Indian Forest Service aspirants. Once again, a warm welcome to all of you to my YouTube channel SYLVA, a ladder to reach canopy. After the threadbare discussion of agroforestry, social forestry, joint forest management and tribology, which is part of subject 1 of section B, now we are entering to the new and very important subject, that is forest soil, soil conservation and watershed management. The number of subjects we have discussed in the past, and we are going to see the new subjects in the coming classes also. And among all the subjects, this is one of the most important subject from the applied point of view. It is the most important subject with a lot of applied aspect. And these three aspects are going to be covered in this chapter: forest soils, soil conservation and watershed management. Let us start with the forest soil. Why soil is so important? Yes, soil is the bedrock for all plant life form in the world. Being agriculture or forestry, this is the bedrock for all, from where the plants originates. That's why studying of forest soil is also very crucial. Where the soil formed under the influence of vegetation, which is commonly called as forest soil. Why to study of the forest soil? Because it has a complete the full linkage with the plants and vegetation growth. That's why for any kind of afforestation planning, to study the soil characteristics is very crucial. To start with the forest soil, let us begin with the classification. Like any other classification, any plants or animals, so there is a classification available in the forest soil also, or the soils. To differentiate the different soils according to its various parameters, for the better management and to give the proper treatment, and also to choose the plants for the betterment of that soil. For the best example is that there is a broader classification of organic soil and mineral soil. This is based on the organic matter content available in this soil. Similarly, there is a broader classification that the United States Department of Agriculture. These classifications help in deciding the soil according to its plants, so that the treatment can be modified to suit this particular condition. So we will be studying in detail about the soil classification available in our country and how one can plan accordingly. The second important aspect is about the factors affecting soil formation. This is also very important, because the formation of soil is influenced by so many characters. One is about the parent rock, that is from where the soil originates. Then you have a climate, rainfall, temperature and so many other factors also influencing to the greatest extent in the soil formation. Then the topography also, kind of slope will be deciding the depth of soil. Then organic matter. All these contents will be discussed in detail in the future classes. And the third important parameter we will be studying under the forest soil is physical property. What are the different physical properties of soil which are important for any kind of planning? Some of the examples like bulk density, particle density, texture, that is relative proportions, various contents like your silt, sand, etc. Then structure, different formation of soil. So all these things are very important for any kind of intervention, maybe at the nursery stage or in the plantation stage. And the next important property comes under the forest soil is your chemical properties. Some of the properties related to this chemical are about the cation exchange capacity, anion exchange capacity and electrical conductivity. So it will help in finding out the salt content available in the soil, which will be as a part of the problematic soil, and how to treat these problematic soil. So studying of chemical properties will be of great use in any kind of afforestation program. And finally, with the biological property, that is mostly deal with the organic matters and the microorganisms available here, also linked with your humus formation and so many other linkages. So these are the chemical, physical and biological properties of soil we will be studying in the under forest soil. The next important aspect is that soil conservation. In the previous session, I was briefing about the biggest problem in the developing countries is about forest degradation and soil erosion. So, the soil conservation is very, very important from the developing country point of view. So, here we will be studying about the soil conservation, different methods available, and how we can plan about the soil conservation. Prevention of the soil erosion through the various measures, that is commonly known as your soil conservation. Under soil conservation, we will be studying about causes. What are the various causes of soil erosion? In India, nearly 175 million hectare area is affected by soil erosion, and broadly wind erosion and water erosion. These are the major sources of erosion taking place in the country. This you will find mostly in the desert region, the western Rajasthan, and this you can always find in the maybe any areas where which is completely exposed to the rain, or maybe in the coastal area. These are the major causes of erosion happening in the country. When we talk about the types of erosion, as I mentioned in the previous moment also, about the wind and water. So further classifications are there about the gully, flash, etc., rill, etc. These are all about the kind of the gullies are the kind of damages taking place in the land, and then saltation, surface, creep. These are some of the types of erosion, mainly due to the wind and water. Next, followed by conservation and management of degraded lands or the eroded soil. So there are various strategies available by using which you can treat the lands, maybe using the biological measures or the mechanical or the engineering measure, so which will be of great help in dealing any kind of degraded or the eroded soil. So there are so many methods are available, and those methods will be dealt in a detailed manner. And next important point in the soil conservation is the windbreaks and shelter belt. So these are the major methodology using the biological means, using trees and the different plant form. And in agroforestry also we dealt about this windbreaks and shelter belt. This is one of the effective methods. You can use it in the nearby coastal lands where there is a possibility of providing the greatest protection against any kind of erosion. So windbreak, shelter belt, we have in shelter belt combination of trees, herbs and shrubs will be done in order to mitigate the erosion. Here only the trees will be planted. So there are standard designs are available. So all these things will be dealt in a detailed manner in the future session. So this is the most effective biological method of dealing the erosion. Another important aspect under the soil conservation is the sand dunes. These are the very common phenomenon in coastal and deserts, formation of sand dunes due to the shifting process, mainly due to the recurring wind effect in the coastal sand dunes and desert sand dunes. And in this we will be studying about the sand dunes, its formation and different types based on its shape and size, and also about the strategies to deal or to prevent the extension of sand dunes. So all these things will be dealt in the future session. And reclamation of alkaline and saline soil. So this is also very crucial applied part in this soil conservation. These are all about the problematic soil. I was mentioning about the studying of chemical property. So this is finally with the will help in reclaiming the alkaline and saline soil. So there is a possibility of challenges one has to encounter during reclaiming this alkaline and saline soil because of the high salt content available, and water entry will also be a major problem. So that's why how to deal this alkaline and saline soil, maybe the application of gypsum, lime, all these things will be covered in the reclamation of alkaline and saline soil. Maintenance and build-up of organic matter, and nowadays we are all talking about the carbon sequestration, where the carbon is stored in the forest soil or the soil, so which is a major contribution in the overall carbon sequestration. That's why studying of organic matter and the soil carbon is very, very important. And forest is a very important source of carbon sequestration. That's why we will be studying about the organic matter, especially the maintenance and build-up of organic matter, which will be helpful in many ways. Next important points are about the provision of lopping for green leaf manuring, forest leaf litter and composting, and which has huge significant role to play with the leaf litter decomposition and reduction of the evaporation, and also will prevent the water runoff from the area. That's why these points are quite relevant, not only in the plantation forestry, but also equally helpful in any kind of agroforestry system also. And about the N and C cycle, about the nitrogen cycle and carbon cycle, which are very relevant because in the atmosphere nitrogen content is very, very high. So we will be studying about the nitrogen, how it is leached and how it is going back to the atmosphere, and how again it is drawn from the atmosphere. And again, carbon cycle is very, very crucial because the plants are drawing the carbon for its photosynthesis. So we will be studying in detail about how these two cycles are playing an important role, and how the exchange of minerals and nutrients taking place in the nutrient nitrogen and carbon cycle. And about the VAM, about vesicular or vesicular mycorrhiza. Nowadays there is a huge scope of utilization of biofertilizers. So mycorrhiza is one of the important fertilizers nowadays, extensively used not only in the agriculture but equally utilized in the forest nurseries and plantation. So there are three types of VAMs are available, and what are the conditions we can use. So this mode of action all will be dealt in the VAM, vesicular or vesicular mycorrhiza. So let us move to the next important aspect about the watershed management. First important part about the concept of watershed management. Watershed is studying of manipulation of human resources, agricultural resources and forestry resources to manage in a better way in that given watershed, and without affecting the soil and water resources. So that is the basis of watershed management. And watershed is nothing but an area where there is a common drainage and maybe a lot of forest areas, agriculture areas, villages, and most of these things are part of this watershed. And forest is taken as a very, very important source of catchment or the watershed. Due to that, there is a huge scope of water conservation, water and soil conservation. Watershed management, everyone must be aware about that. It is a geohydrological unit where the water drains to a common point. And watershed management is the manipulation of all those human resources, agricultural resources and forestry resources in order to manage that given watershed in a better way and without affecting the soil and water losses. So a lot of strategies are required there to influencing the cropping pattern, change of the forest crops, and intervention through various soil and water conservation structures. So all these things will be dealt here. And to brief watershed, this is a first order gully and second order watershed, and this is the third or the final one. So this is how the briefly watershed is explained through a small drawing: first order, second order and third order. So generally watershed in the forest area will be getting importance due to its effective role in the prevention of soil erosion and also its effective role in conserving the water, not only inside the forest area but also the outside forest area. And the role of mini forests and trees, as I mentioned here, the each and every plant or every tree growing in the forest area has the potential to conserve so much quantity of water. Similarly, the grasses and other plants growing in the forest will also do the same mechanism. So it's a very important role played by the forest or the mini forest or the small watershed. Same mechanism will be here like the forest hydrology. What is actually happening in the forest area about the hydrology? It's a cycle. And watershed development in respect to torrent control, river channel stabilization and avalanche landslide. So these are the problematic areas where how one has to do the strategies, maybe the engineering measures or the biological measures. So based on the problem of such situation, torrent control is a problem in the river, and same with the river channel stabilization, where you can go for afforestation by planting deep rooted trees, and avalanche is another significant problem in the Himalayan ecosystem, and landslide. So all these problematic areas, how one has to plan the watershed will be dealt here. And watershed management of and the environmental functions of forest, that is also very crucial and already explained here. And final one is about the water harvesting and conservation, groundwater recharge. So there are so many methods are available to store or to conserve the water. One is the surface level storage, and another one is about the groundwater recharge. In-situ methods are also available and ex-situ methods are also available. So many methods, engineering measures, agronomical measures, all will be dealt in a detail in here, water harvesting and conservation. So along with the groundwater recharge. So there are many techniques available, some by using the sand or stone available there, or some by using the biological measures like planting of grasses and all. So all these things will be dealt in the water harvesting and conservation, groundwater recharge. And finally the role of integrating forest, trees, horticulture and grasses, which is like a part of agroforestry or any other ecological models, where these combination of trees, grasses and other trees will be helpful in storing the water as well as preventing the soil erosion. So the many models are available, and many examples also available from across the country will be dealt in a very detailed manner in the future session. Dear aspirants, that's all about the forest soil conservation and watershed management. As briefed in the beginning, this is the most important subject and the most applied aspect of all those subjects. PowerPoint version of this video will be updated soon. If you have any queries or doubts, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you very much. Nandi Vanakkam.